Hello everybody, welcome to my channel, or welcome back if you're returning. My name is Amy and this is Amy's Lifestyle and Budget, where we do all things living life on a budget. In today's video, we are going to go over how I made my cash envelopes at home. A little DIY, if you will. This is also my first face-to-face video, so I hope you like that, and I'm gonna apologize in advance if I'm awkward. So, without further ado, let's get on into the video. Okay, I have a cheat sheet in front of me, and I have a mic on, so like, let's hope this audio is normal. So if I look down, I'm looking at my cheat sheet. Work with me here. We're all noobs. Okay, so I'm gonna just go over the products that I used. I'll do a little bit of a cost breakdown, and then I'll go ahead and cut in some like actual footage of me doing the action of making the video, I think. So, we start with some vellum. And vellum is that clear, like almost semi-translucent, like sheen, not sheen. How do you describe vellum? It's this. So it's got like you see it on like wedding invitations to like really make things elevated a little bit. But it's that frosted paper. So you need some of that. I bought this brand and it was, per my notes, $13.99 on Amazon. Then you need 3M laminating sheets. I bought my laminator and the 3M came with it as like a bundle. So that bundle was $49.47. Then you're going to need 5mm laminating sheets. I bought a pack of 200 because it felt like a better deal, but you can totally get a package of 100. In fact, all of my measurements, I actually looked up what 100 sheets would be because then you could break things down a little bit easier. But so 100 pack of 5mm laminating sheets were $22.99 on Amazon. I got a 200 pack. It was slightly more than that, but I know I'll use them eventually. So you'll need the 5M. I like a thicker exterior because it makes the envelope feel hardier. Next, you will need a laminator. Mine is the Scotch brand from Amazon because it had good reviews and I wanted it quickly. So this one, like I said, was a pack with the 3M laminating sheets, a bundle, and it was $49.47 total. Alrighty, moving right along, you need some stickers. I bought these on Amazon. It was a 100 pack of stickers for $9.99. I looked at the picture on Amazon. I liked the rose gold and it had a lot of the categories that I wanted. And at the time I didn't have a Cricut. And so I wanted to be able to make envelopes that I liked at home. Stickers are the way to do it. So $9.99, 100 stickers. I liked the categories. Next, you will need a paper cutter. Another Amazon purchase, are we surprised? This paper cutter was $9.89. I feel like anything could work. You could use scissors, it just won't be like as clean of a line, but paper cutter, yep. And then last but not least, you need a hole punch. So this one was $19.99. Oh, the things are falling out. This one was $19.99 on Amazon. I just searched A6 hole puncher or personal size hole puncher. This is the one I bought. So $19.99. So those are the 7 things that you would need to get started. And those all cost, like your base startup cost, if you add all of that up, and I estimated an 8% tax, was $125.64. $125.64. So kind of a heftier startup cost for sure. But then I was thinking about it, and when I started budgeting, which was like last November, I got really excited by the pretty envelopes, and I wanted like the customization, and I wanted to like make it my budget for me. And I ended up buying from Etsy 42 total envelopes, and I paid $155.50. So kind of a hefty price as well. And like, obviously I was just starting budgeting. I wasn't really demonstrating the behaviors that I needed. So yeah, I spent $155 on envelopes, and I still have a lot of them. A lot of them are still like really great quality, but a lot of them also are already falling apart, and it's been, what, 9 months? So it makes sense to me to have the supplies to make replacement envelopes as needed for the $125.64 startup cost. Little more breakdown for you, for the math girlies. You can make, with these supplies, the supplies that I listed, you can make up to 300 envelopes. Obviously your sticker pack is only 100, so like that limits you to 100 envelopes with like a label, but the other supplies will make 300 envelopes. So unlabeled, that's 42 cents per envelope. 42 cents per envelope to make it at home. If you want it labeled, so like with the stickers, it adds 11 cents per envelope, making your total envelope cost 53 cents. So 42 cents unlabeled, 53 cents if you go the sticker route. That's pretty good in my opinion. It's pretty great, right? So I made 36 envelopes in my first go around. Because I only wanted certain of the categories, so I have like leftover stickers and things like that. But that startup cost definitely beats buying from Etsy and that customization. Now, this is for the people that like to craft, right? Like if you will use a laminator in your other crafts, if you enjoy working with your hands, if you expect to cycle through envelopes at like a relatively high rate, then maybe you should consider buying the supplies and kind of getting your own system in place. Otherwise, support the girls on Etsy, right? Like this is their job. They're amazing envelopes. They customize them to you, and there's nothing wrong if you're not a craft person doing that, as long as you factor it into your budget, right? And you save up and you are able to pay for it without going into debt. So love that, love them. So many amazing artists, if you want to call them that, crafters, business women and men, have some really cool things on Etsy. So I don't want to say that that is not as equally a good an avenue. So these are my envelope notes for the instructions that I follow to make my envelopes. And we are going to go ahead and just follow each instruction. I added some extra notes here as I went along. So step 1 is to cut out the vellum. So each sheet of vellum is what, 8.5 by 11. So you're gonna want to have a 6.5 like length, width, I guess it would be width. I'm just gonna do 1. So grab your sheet of vellum, grab your cutter, move your instructions, and you are going to cut 1 inch off of each side. So I am going to measure or line this up with my inch all the way across. Make sure it's flush, and cut 1 inch. And then do the same thing and cut a 2nd inch off, 2 inches. So now this gives me 6.5 inches across here. And then I'm gonna cut this into 3.2 inch pieces. if I go here, I know from the cut line, this is 3 inches. So I'm gonna go 3.2 here. Line her up, make sure it's flat. And then I'll make my first cut. So this is 6.5 by 3.2. This is gonna be 3.2. Make sure it's good. That's my second, and then my third. .2, and then you've got this extra piece. I just set those aside. So now I have 3.2 by 6.5 inch pieces of vellum. Done. Step 2 is to take my laminating sheet and cut those to size. So I'm going to take a 3M laminating sheet. Just need one. It's so loud. I will put everything away nicely after this video, but you need one 3-inch. I'll put this here so you guys can follow along if you want to screenshot it and zoom in or something, but we are going to cut off the edge, like the folded edge, just so that we can move them around as needed. So it doesn't have to be like anything crazy, just cut off the top. That goes in the trash. And then you've got your sheet here. So once you cut off the top, you're gonna cut this sheet to 3.3 by 6.5. So you cut it to 6.5 inches first. So I'm gonna pull this bad boy out. Which side? Okay. So flip this around and we'll cut this down to 6.5 inches first. Doesn't matter really which side you cut, but you'll measure to 6.5 here. From the cut line all the way to 6.5. Make sure it's flat but not bent at the 6.5 inch mark. And make your cut. This piece gets tossed, or you can save it if you have smaller things that you like to laminate. So now we're at 6.5 inches here. Now we're gonna start cutting them to 3.3. So for this, we want, ooh, do I wanna flip it? Yeah, all right, I'm gonna flip it here and then feed this way, and we want it to be 3.3 this time around. So I'm gonna find my 3.3 and I'm gonna make my first cut. So that is 6.5 by 3.3. I'll put that up here. I'm gonna make my second and third cuts. Drag it up to the 3.3 line, make sure it's flat. Make your cut. That's my second one. And last but not least, drag it up to your 3.3 line, make sure it's flush, and make your cut. This piece is garbaggio. All right, so now I've got 3 doubles, 3 pairs of my 3M laminating sheet. Next, you want to flip these pairs inside out to create the pocket, right? So you've got, when you're using the shiny laminating sheets, you have a more matte side. I don't know if you guys can see that. And you've got like a shinier side. You can kind of see the shine there. If I do that, it's less shiny. So you want the shiny side, which is smoother, to be touching, right? To be kissing, and you want the 2 more matte sides, which has the glue on it, to not. A good way to tell that you flipped it the right way is when you slide this up and down, it's really easy to slide. Like there's a lot of, it's slippery on the inside. When the two matte pieces are together, or if a matte piece is touching a shiny piece, there's more drag, and so you know you've done it wrong. So you really want to make sure that you have both shiny sides touching, and it should be really easy to slip around. So you'll flip each pair so that both the shiny sides are touching. Sometimes it's hard. Make sure they have a lot of give, and then move on to the next pair. All right, once you've flipped each, you can move on to the next step. So from here, you'll want to add your stickers to, and I might have skipped this step on accident, but you'll want to add your label to your vellum. So at this point, like if you're using stickers that you purchased, perfect. You'll just center it and add them. If you're using your Cricut, same thing, center it, apply your cut or your, not stencil, but yeah, apply your vinyl. If you're handwriting anything, or if you're using a printer, you can print, cut, again, just center it on your vellum. I'm just gonna do one example, so let's just grab any sticker here. We'll do Bill. Come on. All right, so grab your sticker, grab your piece of vellum, and then I like to use this to help me line everything up. So if I'm looking at this and I've lined this up, I drew, like, I don't know if you guys can see it, but I drew like a wax line right here to help me be able to center it. And then I used Post-it notes to hold the sheet in place, to give it just a little bit of hold, to make my life a little bit easier. So you guys can do whatever works for you. But once you've got kind of a guideline, you can work to center it. So let's see, I'm gonna go right there, flatten it all down, remove my guide, and now I've got a centered, labeled piece of vellum. All right, once you do that, you'll take one of your pairs of 3mm laminating sheets, and you'll add your vellum piece on top. So the two shiny sides that are touching will make the pocket. This vellum piece will be encapsulated by the second laminating sheet that we're going to use. And then when you make your final cuts, you'll be able to open the pocket, and that's what you'll see. So once you've placed your vellum on top of your flipped pair, that's when you'll need to grab your 5mm laminating sheet. So let me grab that. And then you'll want to really carefully kind of stack them on top of each other and then place them in the laminating sheet. But you also want to think about making sure that the placement makes sense to maximize your sheet. So I'm gonna try to make this first one as close to the top as possible. Once you lay it down, the bottom piece of 3M will kind of, because the glue is facing out, it will kind of stick to the glue on the 5M. And then you can wiggle the other two pieces to try to get them as straight as possible. Once you do that, you can kind of lay it flat, and then you'll want to follow this kind of format to maximize the envelope. So this one will face up, these two will face in, and you want to leave space on the bottom so that you have enough room for your hole punch. So when I grab these other two stacks, I'm gonna make sure that they're straight as possible. And then I have some cat hair in mine because I have pets and they are everything and crazy at the same time. So I have some lovely cat hair. Ugh, I'm not even gonna try to get it out, I don't care. Just adds extra pizzazz to the envelope. once you get them straight to, you know, whatever you're comfortable with, you want to leave some room at the bottom of the first one, and then leave some room at the bottom of this one as you lay it down, so that, again, you have room to hole punch at the bottom. So once you lay it down, the 3M that's facing like closest to the bottom will be a little stickier, and then you can wiggle the top 2 sheets to kind of get them as aligned as possible. All right, last but not least, we'll do this third stack. I'm just lifting the corner here so that I try not to disturb the other 2. And again, you want to be mindful of, leaving enough room for the top one to have enough to hole punch, and then leave enough room here also for that hole punch. So once you have them kind of aligned and, you know, good, you can feed this through your laminator. So I'm gonna gently line this up and it will catch. And since I had heated it prior, it will slowly feed this through and seal it. Once it's sealed, then you can move on to cutting it. So a lot of people, especially depending on what you're using, will run it through a couple times for the laminator. Because I'm using a sticker, I don't want the glue of the sticker to get too hot and to kind of bleed. So I'm gonna run it through once, I'm gonna cut them to size, and then I'll run them through for a final time. So I'm gonna run it through, I'm gonna loosely cut it, and then I'll precisely cut it, which is step 12, leaving some room for the hole punch. You didn't see it go through, but it slowly went through. It's all sealed. It's a little warm, so be careful. And we will move that to the side, grab your cutter once more. And I'm gonna just make some really, you know, general cuts. I know that I wanna leave some room. You know what, let's just start with the top one. So move this, organize it in the way that you like. So because you're human, right? You're not gonna have like your envelope is not going to be symmetrical, like perfectly parallel to the top of your laminating sheet. So don't try to measure from the straight edge because your envelope will be crooked at that point. So you wanna align it so your envelope is straight, even if your laminating sheet then isn't straight. So I'm gonna cut the top of this one off. I left a little bit of that lip on the top of these because I didn't want the vellum and the laminating sheets to split. Let me show you an example of what I mean by that. Here's an example of what I mean by that. So like these ones are cut flush, and when I open them, certain ones, let me find a good one to show you. Like if you use the envelope a lot, you'll start to see separation. So let's see, this was one of my first sets. And like, if I look at dining out, you can see that the vellum here or the laminating pouch has separated from the vellum. And it's kind of created this like pocket that I don't want. So to prevent that from happening on these, I added that extra, you know, 1/8 of an inch or whatever it ends up being, to the top so that I would have a seal around the vellum so that it prevents that from happening. So let me see if I can show you what's happening. So you want to cut off just the tip of the envelope to where the pocket will open. So let me see if I can do that without getting super close. And again, you can see here that this is really thin here and really thick here because I didn't have a straight edge, but I want to cut it so that the envelope is straight. So once you cut your first top, right, if your envelope doesn't open at that point, you can see mine is kind of halfway. I can get the rest of it. So that's really good. And I have this lip here that is sealed to protect the vellum, so it shouldn't separate. You may need to cut like a little bit more off, but I got my envelope completely open. So from here, I'm going to cut the envelope to size, and my size is like 3 3/4 of an inch by 6.5, basically, or, you know, maybe a little over 6.5. But so I want this to be 3 3 inches. So I'm going to feed it this way. 3 3/4 of an inch, I should say. And again, you want to line it up to ensure that the envelope itself is straight, because that's the end goal, right? So I'm gonna go ahead, line it up, and make my cut here. So then I should have enough of a border to punch. That looks a little light, but we'll see. And then I will cut off these sides, and then I've got my first envelope. So I'm just gonna cut a little bit. You can see where the seal is on the envelope. So you just wanna cut slightly, like give the seal like, I don't know, 1/8, not even of an inch, so that it just doesn't open. So you can see, I probably could take more. Do I care? Do I not care? We'll just do slightly. Do I care about that? I'm gonna take the smallest bit more off. And I hope that this does not move. Oop. That can be the hardest part, is like if you're not holding it with enough pressure, it can like start moving a little bit. But yeah, okay, I like that a lot better. And then I'm gonna cut the other side off. Again, just like leaving a little bit of space so that it doesn't open on the sides. And then you've got your envelope, right? Opens at the top, lovely, clear, and then you've got this border on the bottom. I may not have left enough on the bottom, we'll see. And then when you go to punch it, you'll want to move this orange thing to where it's centered, because if you use like a preset setting, sometimes they can be like a little wonky. So like I put my envelope in and then make sure that it looks centered. Like, do I have enough space on each side so that I feel like it's actually centered? I do. So I'm gonna punch it, and then that is my envelope. So yeah, I didn't leave enough. I mean, it's still good, like it works for sure, but I probably could have done like 1 extra 1/8 of an inch on the bottom. So yeah, that is the envelope, and that is the size, and that's how you make it at home with no Cricut and no printer. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Good luck to me with editing. I think that about covers everything. So thank you guys so much for tuning into this video. I hope that it was enlightening at the very least. And if you guys have any questions for me, if I wasn't clear on anything, comment below. I'd love to hear from you. Give me a like, subscribe to my channel if you aren't already, and I will see you guys in my next video.